Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. This is By Hook or By Needles. I am Sam, this is Joey, and this is, I don't know if you can see it, this is Brioche knitting. It is reversible. In this instance, it is in one color. It is, my cat keeps rubbing up against me. It's thick, it's really, really squishy, and it's very, very stretchy. It is very airy and very puffy, squishy. It is a great stitch. Now, I've called this knitting for knitters because I'm assuming if you're watching this that you have managed to thus far master a cast on that you are happy with, although the cast on recommended for this is a long tail. So if you need to go back and check my tutorial playlist for knitting for beginners to have a look at the long tail cast on, please do, because long tail cast on is preferred. Alternatively, you can cast on holding two needles together just to make it a little looser, because you do need a loose cast on for this stitch. Yeah, so back to what knitting for knitters. I'm assuming you know how to do a cast on. I'm assuming you know how to do knit and purl stitches. I'm assuming you know how to increase and decrease, although there are no increases or decreases in this particular part. I'm assuming that you know how to do a yarn over, which is a form of increasing. So yeah, I'm assuming a lot because this is, I'm not going to say it's definitely not for beginners, because I think some people can pick up some needles and some yarn and just go boom, and they can create amazing stuff without ever having done it before. You know, there are people like that. So I'm not going to say it's not for beginners. I'm just saying it's for knitters. So it's knitting for knitters. If you, like I said, if you know how to knit, and if you have been knitting and you want something different, this stitch is for you. I'm going to be back in a bit once I get the camera set up to show you how to get this.
Hi, my name is Maggie, and my mummy says you need to hit that like and subscribe button because of this YouTubey something or others, something something important. Anyway, thank you. Bye.
Okay, so I've had to frog my sample because we'll get to that maybe later. Once again, I can't remember if I said it in the first portion or not. I'm using pomegranate from Stylecraft Special DK. DK is a 3-weight, which is also known as an 8-ply. This is 100% acrylic. It is washable and cool, tumble dryable. Also, you can use cool iron on it. It's a really lovely acrylic. It really is. And the color you're seeing is pretty much what the color is. So that's good as well. We are doing this. This is Brioche. I cannot praise this stitch enough. It is, see, I love it when you do that to it. It is just so stretchy and gorgeous. This may have to be 2 parts because, but I will put both parts up at the same time, simply because there's a lot I want to show you, but I don't want to make the video too long, and some of you may just want to watch how to do the stitch. But then I'm also going to put in a section on how to put in a lifeline or a safety line into the yarn, so that if you do make a mistake, you can unravel it without having to unravel it all, because brioche is notoriously difficult to fix. It's not like knits and pearls. I don't have any trouble at all fixing those, But Brioche, it does my head in. And really and truly, I honestly believe that if you can fix a brioche error, a true brioche error, you're a master knitter, or you're almost there. Or maybe you're just very, very clever and very, I don't know, analytical at the stitches, and you can really determine where stitches, how the stitches work and everything, which I can do, but I just still can't fix. I can fix simple errors, but not difficult big errors. Okay, enough waffling. You want me to show you how to do it. You're going to need a long tail cast on. Again, in my in the description box. Not again. I'm saying again because this is my second time doing the video. In the description box, I am going to include links to all the sections that I think might be useful to you. I've called this knitting for knitters because I'm going to assume, as I said before, an awful lot. I'm going to assume you know how to do a lot of the techniques that I'm going to be showing you here. That doesn't mean I'm not going to show you or talk you through them, because I also know that it's probably going to be some beginners who are on the verge of sort of saying, yeah, I'm ready for something a little bit more difficult. And they popped over, and I want to make them sort of feel like, yeah, I can do this as well. So, yeah, if I'm going too slow for you, speed it up. If I'm not going too fast for you, slow it down. If you need to ask a question, either email me. My email is available on my homepage of my YouTube channel. You just go to all the links, and then you have to, I think you have to prove you're not a robot or something by ticking a box to get the email, but there you go. Right, I'm casting on with double needles. The reason for this is you do not want, and this is why I'm also using the long tail cast on, you do not want a tight edging, because what happens is you start off, which one's the end, that's the bottom, you start off with normal cast on. Then in the second or the next row, you're not doubling, you're adding a third. Is it a third? Oh, I think it's a third of the stitches. Again, so if you cast on 20, then you're going to end up with something like 30 odd loops on your needle after your first row, after your setup row. So yeah, you need to have it fairly loose. You can see it's fairly loose here, and that's great, because if that was a normal cast on, it would be really tight, and then you'd get a bit of puckering there. And that's okay if you're maybe making, I don't know, a hat or a blanket, or, a scarf even. But if you're making a wearable with it, which is, doesn't need, you don't want a tight edge on, you need to make sure it's loose. I think I've explained that to death now, but here we go. So we're going to cast on with 2 needles, and I hate casting on with 2 needles because I always end up getting only 1 needle with the yarn on it. So I have to go extra slow, otherwise, yeah, I'm going to cast on 21. Now, the reason I'm casting on 21 is I'm going to also be doing what is known as the perfect edging. Now, I call it the perfect edging, and it is called the perfect edging because of the straightness of it, the look of it. It's so neat and tidy at both sides, and it really is the perfect edging. And it needs 3 additional stitches. Okay, so that's why we're casting on 21. Now with this brioche method I'm showing you, as you can see, I'm just using one color. It can be done in 2 colors. I can show you that another time. But yeah, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. And I like to just shorten my tail so that I don't accidentally knit with my tail. Once you've got your 21 stitches, just take one needle out and we can start working. This first row is the setup row. The second row will be the repeat row. It is a 1 row repeat. You can't ask for more than that. So for our perfect edging, we need to slip one purlwise with the yarn in front. Okay, and then this is our setup row repeat. We knit 1. We yarn forward, slip one purlwise, and then we knit. Slip yarn in front, slip one purlwise, and then we knit. Yarn in front, slip one purlwise, and knit. Yarn in front, slip one, knit. I'm down to my last 3 stitches. If you know about the perfect edging, you know that the last 2 stitches are knit together, and then we've got 1 stitch here which needs a yarn over on it, so we still yarn forward, slip one purlwise, and then we knit those last 2 together for our perfect edging. Okay, now let's look at the stitches we've just created. Not counting the end stitches, which are for our edging, you will notice, if you look from the top, it's probably the best way to look, and I'm covering up the edging stitches, you will see there's a cross, a single, a cross, a single, cross, single, and that should be all the way down. Single cross, single cross, single cross, single cross, single cross, and that is correct. That's the way it should look. If you have 2 singles together or 2 crosses together, you need to start again because you have missed a slip with a yarn forward, or you've done 2 yarn overs in a row or something like that. So just unravel and start again. But that's what we got. Now, here is the 1 row repeat. And I'm going to go through the whole row, and I'm not going to go on any tangents, which I tend to do. I'm going to really do my best not to go on any tangents because I want you to, you can memorize, if you're anything like me, you will memorize certain stitches. And this is one of them I memorize, and I always have to say to myself, slip one purlwise with yarn in front, knit, slip 1, purlwise, yarn in front, knit. And then I abbreviate that to slip 1, purlwise, knit, slip 1, purlwise, knit. And it's just the same. I do exactly the same if I'm knitting a rib. I might go knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, because often I find if I don't do that, I don't pick up that perhaps I've knitted 3 stitches in a row instead of only 2. So, but however way you find it easier to get used to it, do what's most comfortable for you. Okay, so I'm going to slip 1, purlwise, yarn in front. The next stitch is a knit stitch. Now, some patterns that are brioche might try and tell you this is a knit 2 together, which I suppose technically it is, because you are knitting a yarn over, which is a way to increase stitches, with a stitch. But in the brioche world, it is known as a bark or a BRK. BRK meaning brioche, K for knit. BR for brioche, K for knit. Bark. They put an A in it. If you were doing a brioche purl, they call those burps. Okay, so you will see BRKs and BRPs in most brioche patterns, but some do simplify it down to knit 2 together. But that would just confuse me, because once you start see, I've done it again. I've gone on a tangent when I didn't want to. Sorry. Because once you start decreasing and it tells you to knit 2 together, if you're knitting 2 brioche together, you know, 2 barks together, that's totally different than just knitting these 2 stitches together. So yeah, you need to know. All right, all I've done so far is slip 1 purlwise with yarn in front. That's for the edging. Then we knit these 2 loops, and we're off. Yarn forward, slip. It's by itself. You slip the singles with the yarn in front, and you knit the doubles, and then what that does is creates the previous single and creates it into a double. Okay, so yarn in front, slip 1 purlwise, knit, yarn forward, slip 1, knit, yarn forward, slip 1 purlwise, and knit, yarn in front, 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 slip 1 purlwise, and then knit. We're down to our last 3 again. Once again, yarn forward, we're going to slip this 1 purlwise, and we're going to knit those last 2, and because they are 2 stitches in this case, because it's our edging, we're going to knit those 2 together. And that is the repeat. So let's do that again. We're going to slip 1. This is our edge, so we're just slipping 1 with the yarn forward, and we're going to knit those 2 together. Now this actually creates an additional stitch. This isn't part of the brioche pattern. We're creating another stitch so that when we come back in the opposite direction, we'll have 2 that we can knit 2 together at the end. Okay, So yarn forward, slip one, yarn forward, knit, yarn forward, slip one, and then knit, yarn forward, slip, knit, slip with yarn forward, knit, slip one with yarn forward, knit, slip with yarn forward, knit, slip with yarn forward, knit, slip, yarn forward, knit, slip with the yarn forward. We're down to our last two, and we knit those two together, and that's our edging. Whoops, get in there and try that again. Okay, now you can see that it's starting to look a little bit less untidy and a little bit more uniform. You can see the knit stitches, you can see a little V there, you can see the purl bumps and the knit stitches. There's your knit, there's your purl bump, there's your knit, your purl bump, and return to come back, and you can see again these are our knits, and the knit stitches are always going to have two loops, and the little purls in between, you can see the little purl bump, we're always going to slip them purl wise. Always in brioche knitting, unless they otherwise specify, you slip purl wise, and that includes the edging. So we slip one with yarn in front, brioche knit, slip one. You can see once again it's by itself. Not only is it by itself, but it's got a bump, so we know we've got to purl, slip that purlwise. You can see the V, that's the knit stitch, so we know we've got to knit these two together, or brioche knit. We knit the yarn over and the stitch together. Always yarn forward before you slip purlwise, so that when you knit, the yarn comes over and creates a double stitch for knitting the brioche knit on the way back. And that's all this stitch is. It looks so beautiful, it's soft, it's so bouncy, it really is. And even some really rough yarns can become almost cloud-like with this pattern, or this stitch I should say. So slip and knit, yarn forward, always slip purlwise and knit. As I say, this is just very rhythmic. It's a one row repeat. Once you know the rhythm and you know the order of stitches, you know, it's very easy to keep up. Last three, so we yarn over, because we've got one stitch there by itself, we slip that purlwise, and then we knit the last two together. I'm going to do one more without speaking so you can watch, and you can fast forward this, you can slow it down, whatever you wish. can repeat that last row over and over to watch, to copy, follow along with. But you can see now it's really taking shape, and it is 100% reversible. Now, what I'm going to do next, I'm just going to show you how to insert a what they call a lifeline or a safety line. Now, you probably heard of them if you're a knitter who knits, or a knitting knitter. You will probably have heard of them before, because they are quite handy for putting into lace work or cable work and that sort of thing, so that if you make a mistake and you unravel, the lifeline stops and won't let you unravel past that point. So provided everything below that point is perfect, or no errors, let's put it that way, then it stops you from unraveling too much. I would strongly suggest you do put lifelines in even the most simple of brioche, simply because it is very difficult to, you know, it's not like normal knitting. You can't take all the stitches off or unravel and then, you know, have like neat little hoops that you can just pick up. If you try and unravel brioche, you're going to have long threads and loops and everything everywhere, and it's not very easy to pick up. So how do we insert a lifeline for those who are new to lifelines? You get a piece of yarn, a waste piece of yarn that is a much different color to what you're working with, and you thread it through. You want to basically go along the wood, along the needle site. So where the needle is running, that's where you need to put your yarn. You don't want to, you know, go below here, or, you know, in here. No, you want to just get each individual stitch, and only each individual stitch. Now, I can pick up a few at a time, but if you have to do it one at a time, do it one at a time. It's worth doing. And then I'm going to show you. I'm just going to knit those. I'm going to show you how to knit the next row, because that is the next important step of inserting a lifeline. You've got to be very careful not to like split the yarn, because if you sort of split the yarn, sometimes that's going to cause issues when you come to unravel. So you've got to be, you know, really very specific that you've actually just picked up the one stitch, and only this. Oops, sorry, I've gone off line, gone off screen. You don't want to be splitting the yarn, or, you know, going into the wrong stitches. It's basically just, you're adding a very thin, in that picture is another very thin knitting needle. It's better to use a thin cotton or something. I've just grabbed some waste DK, but it, you know, it doesn't matter. Just don't use a yarn that's super thick or way thicker than the yarn you're actually using to knit with. Okay, and I'm just going to get the last 6 stitches or so. Okay, then what I do, now basically, you know you've done it right if you can pull on the thread back and forth, and it glides fairly easily. You know then that, okay, I've probably done this right. What I then do is just tie a little knot like that, because it is just waste yarn. Tie a little knot like that, cut off the ends so they're not too long. And the reason I do that is so that you don't accidentally pull it out, and then you don't have it as a lifeline for when you need it. Okay, I'm gonna just make sure it's out of the way. Which way am I? Yeah, I'm doing this way. All right, so we're gonna do a next row, and when we do the next row, it is very important that you do not end up with any yellow stitches on your needle. So you're picking, sliding purlwise with yarn in front. Right, so I'm not going to knit through both like that, no, because then you end up with your safety line on your, well, not on your needle, but worked through. You don't want it worked through. You want it to be able to glide to and fro. So slip one purlwise with yarn in front. So we're just going to pick up the 2 stitches that we are working, not anything else. So for example, I'm not going to go like that, because then I've got a yellow on my needle, and I don't want the yellow on my needle. You don't want to see any yellow. And we knit 2 together, or bark. Yarn forward. Again, you should know you've done it right if it glides easily. I should have made it a bit longer, but yeah. But you can see, oh dear, yeah, I should have made this a bit longer, but anyway, you can see I'm pulling and it's just gliding. It's not getting snagged on anything, it's just pulling through fine. And that means that I've not knit it into anything. You know, it's not been, you know, accidentally knitted or anything like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just end this video here. So like I say, I don't want to make these too long, but I will make a second one, and I'm going to have made quite a few more rows, and then I'm going to show you how we use the safety line, how we unravel, and how we have pick up along the safety line and that sort of thing. But if you want to get started, you now can get started on a scarf or a blanket, and depending on, you know, and you can see now the pattern is really showing up on both sides. You can see a nice knit ridges showing up. Okay, so I'll leave it there. Like I say, I'll make the second video, and I will release them at the same time. And that way, if you've got time to go straight to the second video, great. But if you haven't, you can sort of, you know, wait until perhaps you need it. And I'll also show you how to cast off. But yeah, so please learn from the past, think about the future, but always live for today. Bye for now.